What if I told you there's a way to walk through life where absolutely no one can get under your skin? Imagine a version of you where it doesn't matter what someone says, how rude they are, how much they try to poke at you. You just don't flinch. You don't get angry. You don't get bothered. You stay unshaken. Now let me ask you this. How much of your life have you already wasted on anger? Think about it. That fight you replayed in your head for days. That comment someone made that ruined your morning. That person who said something stupid on social media and you couldn't let it go. Every time you gave away your peace, you gave away your power. Here's the truth. Nobody tells you. People are going to test you for the rest of your life. It never stops. Someone will cut you off on the road. Someone will disrespect you at work. Someone will gossip about you behind your back. And if you let them trigger you every time, you will spend your whole life as a puppet on someone else's strings. But there's a secret, one that once you understand it, you'll never look at people the same way again. You'll realize anger is a trap, a trick designed to take you off your game. And once you stop falling for it, you become untouchable. So, tonight I'm going to show you how to break free from that trap. I'm going to show you the mindset that allows you to walk through chaos and remain calm, composed, and unbothered. Because the truth is, the strongest person in the room is never the one who yells the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need to yell at all. Here's the first thing you need to understand. When someone bothers you, it's almost never about you. That's the mistake most people make. They take everything personally. Somebody snaps at you, criticizes you, gives you a dirty look, and you immediately think, what did I do wrong? Why don't they like me? Why are they disrespecting me? But let me tell you the truth. Most of the time, their behavior has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of them. And think about it. When you see someone explode in anger at a waiter, is that really about the waiter? Or is it about the frustration that person's been carrying all day long? Maybe their boss humiliated them earlier. Maybe they're insecure, unhappy, or just don't know how to handle their own emotions. That outburst isn't a mirror of the waiter's value. It's a mirror of that person's lack of control. But if the waiter makes the mistake of thinking it's about him, now he's hooked. He takes on the anger, he reacts, and suddenly the other person owns him. That's what happens to us every day. Someone projects their insecurity onto us, and we swallow it like it belongs to us. You've got to stop doing that. You've got to start recognizing that people's actions are data points, not verdicts about who you are. If someone says you're not smart, it doesn't make you less intelligent. If someone rolls their eyes at you, it doesn't reduce your worth. If someone calls you a name, it doesn't define you. It defines them. Here's where the game comes in. Life is full of players. Some people play to build, some play to destroy, and some don't even realize they're playing. They're just reacting blindly. Every time you get angry, every time you get bothered, you've let someone else win the game. They provoked you, and you gave them exactly what they wanted, your reaction. Because understand this, people who try to trigger you, they thrive off that reaction. It validates them. It feeds them. And the moment you give it to them, you've lost. But imagine flipping the script. Imagine someone insults you and you don't even flinch. They expect you to get heated, to fight back, to defend yourself. And instead, you stay calm, collected, maybe even smile. Do you know what happens in that moment? You flip the power dynamic. Suddenly, they're uncomfortable. They realize they can't move you. And that's when you become dangerous. Not because you're aggressive, but because you're untouchable. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I worked in an environment where pressure was constant and people would test you deliberately just to see if you'd crack. If you took things personally, you were finished. I remember someone once tried to humiliate me in front of others. Loud voice, sharp words, full display. Everyone was waiting for me to snap back. But instead, I just looked at him and said, "Are you done?" Calm, no anger, no emotion. And then I carried on like nothing happened. Do you know what happened after that? He never tried it again. Why? Because he realized he couldn't control me. That's the lesson. People only bother you as much as you let them. The game is about control. Control of yourself, control of your emotions, control of your energy. The moment you understand that, you stop reacting. You stop taking the bait. You start seeing people for what they are. Human beings dealing with their own mess. Some are insecure, some are jealous, some are angry at the world. But none of that has to belong to you unless you choose to take it on. And here's where I want you to pay attention. Most people don't even know they're playing this game. They go through life thinking they're victims of everyone else's behavior. She made me angry. He ruined my day. They disrespected me. No, nobody makes you angry. Nobody ruins your day. Nobody controls your emotional state unless you hand them the keys. You choose whether to get hooked. You choose whether to give them that power. So the secret is this. The next time someone comes at you, criticizes you, mocks you, tries to get under your skin, I want you to pause and ask yourself one question. What's really happening here? Is this really about me? Or is this about them? And 99% of the time, if you're honest, you'll realize it's about them. It's their insecurity, their stress, their need to feel important by tearing you down. Once you see that clearly, it becomes almost laughable. Why would you let their weakness dictate your strength? Why would you let their lack of self-control decide how you feel? That's like handing over the remote control to your emotions and saying, here, press whatever buttons you want. No, you keep that remote in your hand. You choose. When you reframe the game this way, people lose their grip on you. You stop being the puppet and start being the puppeteer. You watch others get riled up, shouting, flailing, losing themselves, and you're standing there calm, steady, collected. And let me tell you, that level of control, that composure, it intimidates people because they know they can't touch you. They can't shake you. And that's when they stop trying. So don't make the mistake of thinking this is about never being challenged. Challenges will come. People will test you. What I'm telling you is that you don't have to take the bait. You don't have to absorb their chaos. You can look at them, see them for what they are, and decide, not mine. That belongs to you. That's the reframe. That's how you win the game. Anger is rarely about what actually happened. Anger almost always comes from ego. Someone says something, does something, and instantly you feel that sting, like they've attacked who you are. And what do? You fire back. You defend yourself. You raise your voice. But here's the question. What exactly are you defending? Your actual self or just your ego? Because 9 out of 10 times, it's the ego that gets triggered, not you. Let me break it down. Your ego is that part of you that craves validation, recognition, and respect. It wants to be admired. It wants to be right. It wants to be in control. So when someone challenges it, when someone calls you stupid or dismisses your opinion or questions your worth, the ego jumps up and screams, how dare they? And suddenly you're reacting not from strength, but from the fragile need to protect that image. Think about how many fights in your life started not because of real danger, but because your ego couldn't let something slide. That argument with a friend where you had to have the last word, that pointless back and forth online because someone disagreed with you. That time you raised your voice to prove you were right. Did any of those moments make your life better? Did they bring peace? Did they help you grow? No. All they did was feed the ego while draining your energy. Now here's the real power move. Learn to separate your emotions from your ego. Learn to see the difference between a true threat and a bruised ego. Because unless someone is physically harming you, most of what you call disrespect is nothing more than words. And words only have power if your ego gives it to them. Picture this. Someone tells you you're not good enough. If your ego is in charge, you'll snap back, you'll argue, you'll defend, you'll get heated. But if you've detached your ego, you'll hear it for what it is. Noise, just a sentence, just air leaving someone's mouth. Does that sentence change your abilities? Does it rewrite your story? No, it's meaningless unless you let your ego give it meaning. This is why the strongest people you'll ever meet are often the quietest in the face of insults. It's not that they don't hear, it's that they don't care. They know their worth is not up for negotiation. They don't need to prove it in an argument. They don't need to defend it with words. Their actions speak, their results speak, their presence speaks. The ego screams, but true confidence whispers. I remember a time when someone came at me hard in a professional setting. Loud voice, aggressive posture, trying to show dominance. The old me, the ego-driven me, would have snapped right back, raised my voice, matched their energy, shown that I couldn't be disrespected. But I didn't. I stood there, calm, unshaken, and simply said, "That's your opinion. Nothing more." And then I carried on. You know what happened? They looked small. Because when your ego doesn't take the bait, the other person is left swinging at shadows. Here's a mental trick you can start practicing. Every time you feel that surge of anger, pause and ask yourself, is this my true self reacting, or is this just my ego wanting to be fed? 9 times out of 10, you'll realize it's the ego. And the moment you see it clearly, you've already created distance. That pause is power. That gap between stimulus and response, that's where you take your control back. Some of you might say, but if I don't defend myself, people will walk all over me. Wrong. Detaching from ego doesn't mean being weak. It means being selective. It means you know the difference between a battle worth fighting and a pointless ego clash. Real strength is knowing you don't have to fight every fight. You choose. You conserve your energy for what matters. And that choice makes you far more powerful than someone who reacts to everything. Think about martial artists. The masters don't waste movement. They don't swing wildly every time an opponent twitches. They conserve energy, stay calm, and strike only when it matters. That's what detaching from ego is like. It's mental martial arts. You don't react to every insult, every provocation. You let most of it pass right by you. And when you do respond, it's deliberate, controlled, unstoppable. Here's another perspective. Imagine your ego as a balloon. Every time someone pokes it, you feel like you're about to pop. That's why you get angry so fast, because the balloon is overinflated with the need to look good, be right, feel respected. Now imagine deflating that balloon, letting the air out. Suddenly, there's nothing to poke. Someone tries to insult you, and it doesn't land. They try to embarrass you, and you don't flinch. Why? Because there's no ego left to bruise. You've detached it from who you are. And that's the key. Your value doesn't come from what people think of you. It doesn't come from whether you win an argument. It doesn't come from clapping back with the perfects. Your value is already set by what you do, how you live, what you stand for. That's something no one can take from you. The only way you lose it is if you hand it over to your ego. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, ask yourself, do I want to give them my peace just to protect my pride? Do I want to waste energy proving something to someone who probably doesn't even matter in my life? If the answer is no, then let it go. Smile. Stay calm. Move on. Because nothing scares people more than the one who cannot be rattled. And nothing frees you more than realizing you don't need to defend your ego. You only need to live your truth. That's real strength. That's real control. That's how you stop anger at its source. Not by fighting harder, but by stepping away from the ego that wants to fight in the first place. Control. That's where real power lives. Not in how loud you can shout. Not in how hard you can hit, not in how many clever comebacks you can throw at someone. True power is in the ability to stay calm when everything around you is trying to shake you. Because here's the truth. The moment you lose control, you lose the fight. Think about the last time you got angry. What happened? Your voice got louder, your heartbeat picked up, your thoughts became scattered. You stopped thinking clearly. That's biology. It's your body going into fight or flight mode. And while that might give you a quick surge of energy, it also hijacks your rational brain. You stop being strategic. You stop being effective. You're not in charge anymore. You're angry. And if someone else triggered that anger, congratulations, you just handed them the steering wheel to your emotion. Now let me ask you this. Who's really in power in that moment? You, the one yelling and sweating, or them, the one who made you lose it? That's the trap. People think showing anger is strength, when in reality, it's proof you're not in control. You're letting someone else dictate your state of mind. And if they can control your emotions, they can control you. But flip the scenario. Imagine someone is trying everything to push your buttons. They insult you. They roll their eyes. They raise their voice. They want to drag you into chaos. But instead of reacting, you stay calm. You keep your composure. You listen, maybe even smile, and respond with a steady voice. Now who has the power? You. Because you've denied them what they wanted. You didn't give them your energy. You didn't let them pull you down to their level. You're in charge, not them. There's an old saying, he who angers you, conquers you. It's true. The person who can make you angry controls you more than you think. They can distract you, derail you, weaken you, all without lifting a finger. All they had to do was get under your skin. And the moment you took the bait, you lost control. But when you master control, you become unstoppable. Control doesn't mean you don't feel emotion. You're human. You're going to feel it. Control means you don't let the emotion run the show. You acknowledge it. You breathe. You choose your response instead of reacting blindly. And that choice is everything. That choice is power. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I was in a situation where someone tried to bait me in front of a group. They wanted me to snap, to embarrass me, to show that they could get to me. I could feel the heat rise inside me. I wanted to lash out, but I didn't. I paused. I reminded myself, don't give them the satisfaction. I took a slow breath and I answered calmly, directly, without emotion. And you know what happened? The entire energy in the room shifted. Instead of me looking rattled, they looked rattled because they had no power over me. They threw fire at me and I refused to burn. That's control. Now, some of you might think, but if I don't react, won't people see me as weak? Won't they think they can walk all over me? No. The exact opposite happens. People test you to see if you'll break. When you don't, they realize they can't control you. And nothing is more intimidating than someone who can't be rattled. Weakness is letting every insult, every criticism, every little annoyance get a rise out of you. Strength is being unshakable. Strength is silence when everyone expects rage. Strength is calm when everyone else is chaos. Control is not passive. It's not about rolling over or accepting disrespect. It's about being deliberate. You choose when to act. You choose when to speak. You choose what deserves your energy and what doesn't. That's the difference between a fighter who swings wildly in every direction and a master who waits, calculates, and strikes only when it matters. One wastes energy, the other conserves it and wins. Here's a practical way to build that control. Practice the pause. Every time you feel your blood boiling, pause. Take a slow breath in. Count to 3. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want here? If I explode, do I get that outcome or do I just feel temporary relief while giving away my power? That pause separates you from the chaos. That pause puts you back in control. Another tactic is reframing. Instead of seeing someone's provocation as a threat, see it as a test. Every time someone tries to bother you, that's an opportunity to practice control. It's like weightlifting. Every repetition makes you stronger. Someone cuts you off in traffic. That's rep 1. Someone makes a snide comment at work. Rep 2. Someone tries to argue with you online. Rep 3. And with each rep, your ability to stay calm, steady, and composed gets stronger. Because here's the reality, life is full of chaos. You can't stop people from being rude, from disrespecting you, from trying to get under your skin. What you can do is control yourself. And when you do, nothing and no one can shake you. That's why control is the ultimate power. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself in a way that makes you untouchable to others. So the next time someone tries to rattle you, I want you to remember this. Every second you stay calm, you win. Every moment you stay composed. You keep your power, and the longer you hold that power, the more unstoppable you become. Because in the end, control isn't just strength, it's freedom. Freedom from being anyone's puppet. Freedom from wasting energy on things that don't matter. Freedom to walk through life calm, focused, and unbothered. That is real power. If you want to walk through life unbothered, you've got to build armor, not physical armor, emotional armor. Because let's face it, life is never going to stop throwing things at you. People are never going to stop testing you, criticizing you, doubting you, gossiping about you. That doesn't end. You can't control that. What you can control is how much of it gets through to you. And that's where your armor comes in. Here's the problem most people have. They walk through life completely exposed. Every comment, every insult, every small inconvenience pierces straight through their skin. Someone makes a face at them. They're wounded. Someone ignores them. They're crushed. Someone posts something online and suddenly they're spiraling. They live with no shield, no filter, so everything hurts. and then they wonder why they're exhausted, why they're bitter, why they can't find peace. Your job is to toughen up, not to harden your heart. Don't confuse the two, but to toughen your skin. Because if your skin is paper thin, the world will cut you to pieces. But if your skin is thick, if you've built armor, then the same cuts that destroy others don't even scratch you. The insults bounce off. The negativity slides right past you. You keep walking forward. Now, how do you build that armor? It doesn't happen overnight. Just like physical armor takes time to forge, emotional armor takes time to develop, and it starts with the small stuff. You've got to train yourself in the little daily battles. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you lose it or do you let it go? Someone at work ignores your idea. Do you spiral or do you shrug it off and keep contributing? Someone makes a rude comment in passing. Do you replay it in your head all night or do you say not mine and move on? Every time you choose not to react, you're adding another layer to your armor. Here's the truth. The small stuff is the training ground. If you can't let go of the little things, you'll never be ready for the big things. If a stranger's bad driving ruins your day, how will you handle betrayal from a friend? If a sarcastic remark shakes you, how will you face real criticism when the stakes are high? Building armor is about discipline. It's about using every small annoyance as a chance to get stronger. Let me tell you something I've seen time and time again. The people who are hardest to shake are the ones who faced the most. They didn't wake up unbothered. They built it. They went through rejection, failure, disrespect, criticism. And instead of breaking, they learned to bend. Instead of letting it define them, they used it as fuel. They realized that no matter what people throw at you, you get to decide whether it penetrates or bounces off. That's what armor is, choice. And here's the paradox. The stronger your armor, the freer you are. People think being sensitive makes them more connected, more human. But when you're overly sensitive, you're a prisoner to everyone else's behavior. Your emotions are on a leash, and anyone can yank it. True freedom comes when you can hear criticism, face disrespect, endure challenges, and still remain steady, because then you're not living at the mercy of the world. You're living on your own terms. But let's be real. Armor doesn't mean you don't feel. You will feel it. You will hear the words, notice the looks, recognize the rejection. But armor means it doesn't wound you. It means you can acknowledge it without letting it define you. It's the difference between rain hitting your jacket versus soaking your skin. The rain is still there, but it doesn't leave you cold and shivering. So let me give you a visualization. Imagine you're wearing a suit of armor every day. Every insult is just an arrow hitting metal. It makes a sound, but it doesn't pierce. Every criticism is a stone bouncing off your chest plate. It might rattle, but it doesn't damage you. Every attempt to pull you into drama is like someone trying to punch steel. Their hand hurts. Not you. That's how I want you to move through life. Not fragile, not easily cut, but armor. And here's another piece. Armor isn't just about defense. Armor also gives you confidence to move forward boldly. Because when you're not afraid of getting hurt, you can step into bigger arenas. You can take risks, chase goals, put yourself out there. Most people play small because they're afraid of rejection, afraid of criticism, afraid of looking stupid. But when you've built armor, you're not scared of those things. You know they'll bounce off. So you move faster, harder, bigger. Armor doesn't just protect you. It propels you. I'll leave you with this thought. Everyone in this world is carrying their own chaos. Some will try to hand it to you through their words, their actions, their negativity. If you accept it, it becomes your burden. But if you've built armor, it can't stick. It bounces right back to them. And that's when you realize you don't have to carry the weight of other people's insecurities, anger, or projections. You only carry what you choose. So every day, ask yourself, am I adding to my armor, or am I letting myself stay exposed? Am I letting the little things pierce me, or am I practicing the discipline of letting them bounce off? Because the more layers you build, the more untouchable you become. And when nothing outside of you can shake you, that's when you finally own your life. That's emotional armor. That's how you become unbothered, unstoppable, and free. Your energy is the most valuable resource you have, not money, not time, energy. Because without energy, your time is useless. You can have all the hours in the world, but if you're drained, unfocused, and angry, those hours produce nothing. And most people waste their energy on the dumbest things, petty arguments, grudges, meaningless drama, people who don't even matter. That's why they're exhausted. That's why they're stuck. They're spending premium energy on cheap problems. Let's be real. How many times have you gone to bed at night, still replaying a conversation that didn't matter, still thinking about what you should have said, what you should have done? Meanwhile, the person who triggered you has moved on. They're sleeping fine. They're not thinking about you. But you're lying awake, burning fuel on something that gives you nothing in return. That's energy wasted. Here's the truth. Every time you get angry, every time you let someone bother you, you're handing them your energy like a gift. You're saying, here, take my focus, take my peace, take my strength. And for what? For a comment that won't matter in a week. For a stranger who cut you off in traffic. For someone's bad day that they projected onto you. That's not just pointless, it's expensive. Because you only have so much energy in a day, and if you blow it on nonsense, you have nothing left for what actually matters. Think about it like money. If you had $100 to spend every single day, would you spend it on trash, or would you invest it in something that grows? Your energy works the same way. Every reaction costs you, every grudge costs you, every fight you didn't need to have is like throwing bills out the window. And the sad part, most people don't realize they're going broke. They think anger is free, but it's not. It's one of the most expensive habits you can have. So here's the shift. You've got to start treating your energy like gold. Guard it. Protect it. Spend it wisely. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this worth the fuel I could be putting into my goals, my growth, my happiness? 99% of the time, the answer will be no. And once you see that clearly, it becomes easier to let things go. Not because they don't matter at all, but because they don't deserve the cost. Let me give you an example. I once had a colleague who was constantly negative, always complaining, always criticizing, always trying to drag others into drama. For a while, I let it bother me. I'd argue back, defend myself, waste time trying to explain. And every time I walked away drained, until one day, I realized, why am I giving this person so much of my energy? They don't add anything to my life. They don't matter to my future. So I stopped. I stopped engaging. I stopped arguing. I started walking away. And the moment I did, I felt lighter because I wasn't bankrupting myself on something that had zero return. That's a mindset I want you to carry. Everything you give energy to should have a return. If it makes you better, stronger, happier, then it's worth it. If it drains you, distracts you, weakens you, it's not simple. But here's the catch. You've got to be disciplined because your ego will want to fight. Your pride will want to clap back. Your emotions will want to react. But that's short-term satisfaction with long-term cost. You'll feel good for 5 seconds, then pay for it with hours of wasted energy. So what do you do instead? You redirect. When someone bothers you, instead of stewing, use that energy for yourself. Go for a workout. Write down your goals. Put that fire into something that builds you instead of something that drains you. That's how you turn provocation into power. You don't waste it on them. You invest it in you. And let's talk about peace for a second. People think peace is some fluffy idea, something you get when the world finally stops being chaotic. Wrong. Peace isn't the absence of chaos. Peace is the ability to stay steady in the middle of chaos. And you only get that when you stop wasting energy on what you can't control. The world will never run out of rude people. It will never run out of critics, trolls, or negativity. But if you can learn to protect your energy, none of that touches you. You rise above it. Ask yourself this. How many things that made you angry 5 years ago still matter today? Almost none. And yet, at the time, you gave them hours, maybe days of your life. You can't get that back. Energy wasted is gone forever. Don't make the same mistake with today. Don't hand over hours, days, or weeks of your life to people and problems that won't even exist in your future. Here's the bottom line. Your energy decides your future. What you feed grows. If you feed anger, you get more anger. If you feed drama, you get more drama. But if you feed focus, discipline, and peace, you build a life where nothing and no one can derail you. So guard your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. From now on, every time someone tries to provoke you, I want you to pause and ask, do they deserve my energy? If the answer is no, let it go. Smile. Move on. Redirect that fuel into yourself. Because the secret to never getting angry, the secret to never being bothered, is realizing that your energy is too expensive to waste on nonsense. Spend it wisely, and you'll build a life no one can touch. So here's the truth. You don't control the world. You don't control people. You don't control what they say or do, but you do control yourself. You control your focus, your reactions, your energy. And when you master that, you master everything. Never forget, anger is easy. Control is hard. Anyone can explode. Anyone can argue. Anyone can waste energy on drama. But it takes strength to stay calm. It takes discipline to walk away. It takes real power to be unbothered. And once you learn to live that way, you stop playing small. You stop being a puppet to everyone else's behavior. You step into a version of yourself that is steady, strong, untouchable. Life is too short, and your energy is too valuable to waste it on people who don't deserve it. So from this moment on, I want you to make a choice. No more giving your peace away. No more letting others dictate your emotions. No more being easy to provoke. Build your armor, protect your energy, guard your focus, and walk through this world like the storm can rage all around you, but it can't touch you. Because the secret to never getting angry, the secret to never being bothered, is not about the world changing for you. It's about you changing the way you show up to the world. Strong, calm, and unshakable. That's real power. And that's who you're going to be from today forward.